Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. Yeah, you guessed it, we're on the launch pad again. Like I tried to warn you, there's going to be a lot of this, but I'm really trying to condense it down. It just seems that something interesting happens every launch, and by interesting I mean dumb. But that's just me. I have still not cleared up what is... It looks like they're multiplying. They're growing with every launch. We get a few more clamps out here that need to be picked up. But I just don't do it. I'm kind of lazy. So I had a heart attack moment earlier today when I tried to load up this save, and it would crash on loading repeatedly. It gave me about 2.5 hours worth of frustration, but I finally just copied over the GameData folder from my backup on my external drive, and we're back up and running. But the last time I made a backup on that drive was right before I built this new PC, and so all of the settings there were for running in 720, so I've had to make some adjustments and move some things around, but things still aren't quite right, so I do apologize for that. Next time through, I promise I will have everything sorted out. This is, you guessed it, going to Mars. This is our first of our liquid fuel slugs. They're going to be hauling a good supply of Aerosine 50 and nitrogen tetroxide to our station there for refueling of the Artemis and anything else that comes its way. But our relative inclination is at an appropriate level. We'll fire those up and get these clamps off. Ooh, that was a unsettling little wiggle there. And yeah, our relative inclination is already wobbled away. Anyway, it looked like the corrupt file was somewhere in the in GameData, so I did not lose the save game or any progress on anything. All of that stuff shaped up pretty well. It was just somewhere in there a part got screwy and decided it just was not going to play nice with anything else. But I'll get the graphical settings dialed in. Oh man, the wobble on this is a lot more than ever before. We're gonna throttle down those HG3s. This is new. It used to be it was carried nice and stable until we ditched our boosters, and then the wobble started going absolutely crazy. Alright, well, I'm gonna wrestle this thing into orbit, and provided of course nothing dumb happens, I'll see you there. That would constitute something dumb happening. Very interesting. I don't think this spin is going to be recoverable. We will try, though. Oh boy. Decouple node. See you later, fuel tank. This is where I would like to be. Insufficient avionics. Well, that's good to know. Decouple. Good, we can get rid of that. I don't like how the engine's turned off, but I do like how it righted itself in time to splash down into the ocean. Well, it looks like the liquid fuel slugs have more issues than the life support slugs, and I was hoping they would be easier. Guess not. Huh, well. I think waiting that 60 days for when MechJeb tells us the next window is probably going to be our best option at this point, because we obviously need the time to address some problems here in our launchers. Or maybe find a better way to go about dealing with this docking clamp, or docking port mishap that is creating all of these problems. So we're gonna have to go do a redesign, and we're gonna put the rest of them on hold. But I guess while we're here, well, I can't even go to the Space Center. Yes, I can. Oh no, that will take us back to pre-launch, and I don't want to do that because that's a little too cheaty McCheaterson for me today. So hopefully it won't auto skip me around, but we will just watch this probe core float daintily to the surface. Yep. And I thought every launch was going to get a little bit better each time. Turns out no, I am entirely wrong on that front. Oh hey look, something survived. Not this though. Can I go back to the launch center now? No? Okay, there we are, Space Center. Yeah, aerodynamic stresses or something. I didn't even bother to look. I care that much at this point. Alright, so we've got this, that's another life support slug though. And we've got this liquid fuel slug that I've made some edits to. We're just going to try to edit some edits. Yeah, and you can go over here. So, let's take this fairing off. So that could be a weak joint, but those probably won't produce enough thrust for it to really matter. This is the joint, I think, that is causing us the most problems. Although really the whole thing tipped from here. So I wonder if that's the joint that's causing us the problems. So you know what? We're just going to switch them both. Yeah, we'll pull that down and away. So what if? Those are angled though, aren't they? Those don't look entirely straight. So you know what? I think I'm just gonna redo this tug as a whole. So let's okay. Whatever. I'll deal with you later. Man, I was really hoping for a very modular design that I could just take this slug, deposit it onto the station, and use this as a tug. But I don't even think I can get away with that. So I'm gonna scrap most of this design and start from the ground up. So, man, bummer, but here we go. So, first thing we're gonna do is just scrap the whole thing and bring out an Agena core, because one of the myriad of other problems that we've been having with this tug design is avionics, so we'll double that up. I think each of those give us 16 tons of total avionics control. So, you know, like times 2, 32. Sorry, it's late and math is hard. Anyway, so we'll try to size up some tanks. Now, really, the only limitation that we do have is the size of that low orbital rated heat shield, which is all we're really going to need to aero capture into Mars. We don't need to go big with the lunar return heat shield. I probably just said lunar orbit, didn't I? Low Earth orbit rated heat shield. So we're abandoning the robotics parts for the time being anyway. It may have just been an addition of mass and an instability that we didn't necessarily need. And it's hard to get tanks centered on those things, so we're just not going to do the robotic parts. We are going to stay with the HA-10s, updated variant here, unlimited ignitions, pressure fed, unlimited runtime. They are an ideal engine for a tug setup because you can just beat the ever-living hell out of them and keep going, and that's what matters. So we'll get those tanks topped off, and we will make the decision to put a docking port on the bottom. Despite it being a little less than wonderfully accessible, I do want it down a little lower, probably not that low. The angle of the exhaust coming out of those nozzles is something to consider, because I think we're going to put the cargo below the tug instead of above it, since it will be the heaviest bit of mass. And if we can keep that closer to the fairing, or closer to the rocket in general, I think we'll gain a lot of stability that way. Alright, setting up our action group for our boot sequence. And playing around with some action groups, or not action groups, staging. Staging is what we're talking about. And then it's time to actually build out the cargo itself, the slug. And, well, we're going to adjust some of these things. Like I said, the exhaust direction is going to play a part, and I've now just eliminated that tank. We want a little bit of a tank there. Having a central tank is always a good idea. It gives you a means of balancing out the other ones. And before I forget and start to try to really measure my delta V, I really should put some thrusters on here. Configure them for aerosine and nitrogen tetroxide, because that is our fuel du jour. The more things you can get running on a single fuel, in my opinion, is better. It just makes, having fuel tugs easy. You only got one type to haul around, it'll get you there, and it'll do your thrusters, etc., etc. I know it's not the most efficient or the most powerful, but it works pretty well. Alright, back down to the slug. We're going to give it its own avionics core. This is a Delta core. We're going to give it its own RTG power supply, because power generation is also an issue for these old slugs. And we're going to match the dimensions of this top tank to this bottom tank. Yeah, just double checking all of it and fill them with fuel. Make sure the utilization on them both is equal, because we're going to need a very even distribution of mass. And yeah, guess what doesn't like to attach radially in the direction that I like? Yeah, see, that's way off. So alright, I'm done with that one. Let's try a different one. Or the same one, but again. Okay. That did not work the way that I wanted it to. Anyway. Yeah, we'll size these up, because we're going to stick a docking port on those. It's still kind of a requirement right now that I have 2 docking ports on each of these slugs, so I can either daisy chain them together. We have a grand total of 3 docking ports on the station core, one of which we are obviously going to need for the crew, and the other 2 will be filled up with these fuel and life support slugs. So we're going to need to daisy chain them together if we're going to get everything docked on there. So 2 docking ports is an absolute minimum for these slugs, which is why I was kind of balancing on them before. But we're going to try something different. So I know we can do the control from here on the docking ports themselves, so we won't have to worry about the orientation of the core so much. It's just thruster placement is a little weird on stuff like this, and me trying to sit here and measure out in my head how much authority we'd have in each direction. But you're basically trying to maneuver around a sphere, or make a sphere maneuver. Anyway, We're going to give it independent comms, but short range only, because it shouldn't be anywhere where there isn't something to bounce a signal off of. If there is, then man, you've really screwed some things up. And just to make sure that the mass on it stays stable, we're going to go ahead and add some struts, though they seem to be pretty useless. And get a paint scheme figured out. And I guess now I'll hand you back over to old me. Alright, well, we're going to give this a try. It's different-ish, maybe? I mean, really, other than adjusting the package from between the heat shield and the tug, it is now, the tug is on top, but I think that's probably going to be the most weight. It is a lot lighter, it's a lot less fuel than I would like to be shipping out. I may adjust some of these things, but I think it looks right. It's got that Imperial torture droid kind of feel to it. We had some like little arms dangling off and the requisite number of docking ports, none of which are in between it and the booster stage that will be carrying it up. This one might be an issue, but I'm hoping that having this decoupler here will kind of aid that. Alright, so we've got those decouplers go, all these things, whatever the decoupler, we need to move these engines down for when that decoupler fires, because that's when they will take over, and that puts it at 1,878 meters per second, and I'm assuming that's not using any fuel from the actual cargo pod itself. So yes, we could definitely use more fuel. We have this up here, which, oh, we can just up the utilization on this. Yeah, because we got weight to spare. We're still only at 31 tons. That's fantastic. So these I figure might fall into the common bulkhead territory. We'll up those a bit too. Where are we at now? Yeah, almost 32 tons. We've got, well, we got 10 tons from there, and we got 16 for each of those. So we're good on avionics for a change. And we've got a total of 6 RTGs, unlimited plutonium here on this this Earth. Obviously, no one's making bombs out of it, so you know that's good. Oh, and 1, 2, 4 whole sec. All right, don't get distracted. Edits will take about 6 days to build, which is incredible considering this is basically a new thing entirely. All right, I'm just going to add 4 more struts from here to our cargo tank. There we go. You know, I'm actually pretty pleased with this. I wish it was just a little bit bigger, but I'm worried about the exhaust from the engine, although obviously those those might be getting the brunt of it. Maybe they will. Maybe I could put those engines on. Actually, I've got the room. And I guess in order to dock it with anything, the tug's going to have to disconnect here. And then this will just pilot itself into the docking node. And then the tug can go off and dock to something else. So let's see if we can't move these down a bit. That's as far down as we can get them, and that still looks pretty weird. But that does almost get... I mean, I would like, if we draw a straight line off of that coming straight across, that almost gets everything out of the exhaust range. If they could just be a little bit lower. But you know what? We can fix that. We can lengthen this tank here. And then let's take those in so they don't look quite so weird. And then down. I think that's almost good enough. So we're going to run with that. And this is going to be liquid fuel slug 2. No. We're going to make it LF2 slug. because I'm pretty sure Liquid Fuel Slug 2 save file already exists. Alright, so let's move this up to the top, the tippy top, and we'll put our cargo ring on it. Booyah. Tell me that still has, good, still has the avionics on it. We will need that. And then we'll put our booster underneath. Ta-da! Check our staging. This primary engine, stage sep. Yeah, those 4 engines don't need to fire right there. That, okay. Yeah, we just, oh good. I love it when all the staging goes all cattywampus. Alright. And, yeah. It's our HG3 vacuum. Come on. HG3 series. That can go right around in here somewhere, because yeah, that's stage sep, retro fire, HG3 fire, and that's that, where those don't need to go. Alright, and the rest of that will probably be done manually. Let's get our fairing back on. Much smaller. And put it in the appropriate stage. It's going to be after booster sep, before stage sep. Make sure that we're above ground. Be good, wouldn't it? Oh, hey, now our edit time is down to 1 day. That's even better. We're going to go ahead and try to launch this guy today. Save edits. And we'll probably just scrap the other ones and duplicate this, because the build time will be... I mean, it might not be a day, though. Eek. Alright. No time for a simulation. VAB, LF2 slug. That's a life support slug. We'll probably edit one of these liquid fuel slugs to match that, but we're probably going to need more of these if we're going to do anything at all. Oh, this is tough. We do have one life support slug that is on its way, another one that's stuck in orbit. So this we can probably scrap. Yes. God, we need that money. So, duplicate, 13 days. God, I hope it works. There goes all that money. And then we'll worry about getting Coast Guard off the ground to go rescue our stranded slug. And that's the crew variant. We're going to do a orbital test of that because everything else has gone horribly wrong. We probably should. That's the lander, to which I have footage of a build-a-sode. I promise I will show it to you. But I want to do a test flight and make sure that's okay. But these two we don't have to worry about. They're not going out this window, definitely. This has something to do with the Grand Tour, for those of you who don't get the reference. Anyway, warp to complete. We're now probably about a week and a half past our actual quote-unquote, our Kerbal alarm clock window. And about 55 days away from 54 days away, so time the building of Coast Guard to coincide with that. Roll out. We'll warp to the completion of our reconditioning. And warp to finish our rolling out. Alright, well, it's still only May 1973. So I really should be not very stressful on myself. We're hoping to launch the crew to Mars in 1975 and have them home by 1980-ish. Of course, all good plans. Best laid plans quickly go to waste. Alright, I'm going to get some of the logistics here taken care of, like selecting the moon as our target, and letting the rocket fuel. Please don't let the launch pad explode. Alright, KJR didn't screw us this time. Alright, please work, little buddy. Please, please, please. Alright, I'm just going to correct the rest of that inclination in flight. Clamps off, and we are going. We are about 15 or so tons lighter than the other liquid fuel slug, so this rather rapid pace off the pad does not surprise me a little bit, but hopefully we can translate that into an effective gravity turn and save as much of that upper stage as possible. HG3 only has 2 ignitions though, so after we make our burn for Mars, that's it. We're gonna ditch it, let it go, and move about our merry way. Oh, I should be starting set gravity turn. We do have some wobbles. Oh, good. They seem to be fairly minor, I'm hoping. We won't know much until we get the fairings off, so I'm just going to play this very gently, he says while double tapping the key, and hopefully this won't get more interesting than last time, and I'll see you guys in orbit. Well, as far as launches that are sped up in post go, this one was actually not too terrible. We still do have a fairly persistent wiggle. It is not the smooth ride to orbit that we've gotten from a lot of the prior DN series, and certainly not nearly the glide that the RA series was. There's booster set, and they're down and away. And just a quick test to make sure that the HG3s are now being recognized by test flight, which they are. And thankfully, none of them have risen up to bit me in the ass yet, which I won't complain, but they are being recognized. I just hadn't seen a failure after lighting up so many of them that I did kind of question whether or not they were still there. I hadn't checked since I got word that they were working for test flight, but I can now actually confirm they are working with test flight, or at least they're being recognized. I haven't seen a failure, so we're just gonna, I'm happy, and I'm not trying to jinx this because I need this mission to go well. I also need all of these tanks to be locked so that I'm not burning our CS fuel from our tug or our slug. Probably need some better alliteration than that. Anyway, as long as I don't touch the controls too much, this thing stays pretty stable. But the wobbling isn't anywhere near what it was. There goes our core stage separation and the light up of our vacuum HG3. And it's just a very quick ride to orbit. As far as the ascent profile was, this one was almost textbook. So at least I have that to be proud of. But here's to hoping that the tides are starting to change in our favor, and that maybe this little redesign might be just what saves this mission. Because without getting a couple of these out to meet the station in Mars orbit, there really is not going to be a crewed mission in 1975. But we're getting ready to round out the orbit, so I will turn you back over to old me. Yes. All right. Well, we're gonna call this an orbit, 246 by 197, and pretty much problem free. So I think whatever our problem is, we've solved most of it. I do imagine that the weight of this heat shield way up here is causing a little bit of an oscillation that might be hard for some of these decouplers to deal with. But in watching this launch go through, it kind of looked like some of the wobble was coming through right here. So I wonder if it's the attachment node strength on this HG3, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that could be a thing. You know, I'm not very savvy to these things, and I could have just been misreading it. But for the most part, I think we eliminated about 98% of that wobbles there during launch that were giving us problems, and that makes me really happy. So we got almost 5.3 kilometers per second left in this HG3 stage, for which we can use to plot for Mars. So which we're just going to go ahead and do that now. Set as target. Yeah, we don't need rendezvous planner anymore. We need maneuver planner. You can go away. No, I would like to... yeah. And we'll just let this do its calculations. There we go. Pork chop selection as soon as possible. 4.2. Create node. That does give us an impact, hopefully. Impact is not the word I was looking for. Encounter. But that does look like an impact to me. And it's a little more polar than I think we would like, but once we get one telemetry plotted across here, we'll figure the rest of them out. Alright, so how long until that? 33 minutes. Says the burn will take 6 minutes. We can assume that is accurate because it is all going to be done on the back of this HG3. So all we have to do now is turn our stability control off and use these thrusters that I really should have upgraded, or at least put something a little heavier on. They're doing the job. I'm just impatient. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get ourselves into position, and hopefully this will be the first it's gonna go really well burn to Mars of this mission. I guess the core stage didn't go very badly. That one went pretty much as expected, or to plan. It's just all of these slugs have not, but I think now that we've got the problem isolated and fixable, we can solve this. Just, is rescuing that one that's stuck in orbit even going to be worth it? Considering it's an old crappy design and we're going to be going on the back of a docking port on a very powerful engine, it could just wobble itself apart. And at this point the money's spent, so it might be as worth it as it's the money has already been spent. Is it more worth it than just trying to duplicate this design and equipping it with some life support down here instead of liquid fuel, and giving it a different paint job so that we can distinguish the two? And yeah, I'm still not using persistent rotation, so I can do this. Alright, let's go ahead and get this underway. I kind of want to be about 4 minutes out, so man, I'm too close to the screen. I can't watch all of these things at once. Okay, I may have missed it a bit, but you know, very unstable. If you could just ullage in for me, sir. No connection. Uh-oh. Well, it just means that we can't turn on our stability control, so I will just be trying to fly this entirely by hand without stability assist, because comms network. Running the space program here, 23 years, never launched a communication satellite that's worth a damn. So maybe taking that geosynchronous contract might not be such a bad idea. Alright, well, we're within 1.9 meters per second of our node. Dang, still a kilometer per second left in that tank. That is so awesome. Oh, HT3s, I love you so. Yeah, look at how much that deviation is just out there. Ah, we have connection. Stability control, please. Focus view. We don't even have an impact, do we? No. No, we do not. MechJeb, you may have lied to me again. So yeah, there's our course. There's our anticipated course. It's not happening. Alright, well, I'll take the, what happiness we do have currently and be okay with that. Come on. Let's see how much of this we can correct out with these RCS thrusters. Somehow I just don't think it's going to be enough. Very interesting. So if we unlock this tank, do we get RCS control up top? Nope. Okay. Good to know. We'll just go ahead and open up this little guy too. There it is. Much heavier duty thrusters. Oh yeah, they've got some much greater authority here. So let's just see if getting this thing almost on the node is going to do it for us. Somehow, I doubt it, because MechJeb likes to lie. Liar McLiarison. 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. RCS off. Let's not screw this up anymore. Nope. Nothing. That's fine. See? Look at that. 2.3 degrees off. Oh man. And it's like on top, or just past the descending node. So I'm going to try to sort this out. I'm going to do it a bit off camera, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to do it off camera because this episode has gotten quite long and is just full of the let's make adjustments in orbit. We do have some Aerozine and N2O we can reclaim here. Let's lock those open. I don't know if we burned this much from our cargo here. But we'll go ahead and replenish what we can. Oh, you know, close enough. And decouple. Let's check our power draw. Good, we're topped off and staying that way. We don't have a whole lot of battery. I mean, just what was in these two Agena cores, which I guess is a lot of battery individually, but for a spacecraft like this, it just doesn't seem like a lot of battery. And we'll go ahead and boot this antenna. And this antenna, why not? Check our power draw stats again. Excellent. So, so far so good. We're just going to make that mid-course correction and get this little guy hopefully on a course where he will hit the atmosphere of Mars and be able to break into orbit off the back of Aero braking. So, this is the first one that went pretty well, other than, you know, MechJeb being a liar. So, I'll take it. It's not all that bad, really. But, you know, what we can do is get a nice zoom away. A good old home. Because that's always going to be... No, I wanted to turn it the other way. Here I am trying to pose things. It's really only for my benefit, because this game just never gets not pretty to me. I love it. It is just simply amazing most of the time. Alright, now we'll turn that off. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it, and hopefully we can get back on track here real soon, real fast, and get this Mars program actually working. That would make me feel really good about stuff. So thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I do appreciate it, and I'll see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.